101. Entrepreneurship 101 is created to empower entrepreneurs all over the world. And today I have my special guest. He's a 9 companies built as a revenue growth coach. And of course, creator of Own Your Revenue. None other than Mr. Rion Westfall.
How are we doing today, Daniel?
Fabulous and excellent, Mr. Rion. Thank you so much for being part on Entrepreneurship 101. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I can?
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. Rion Westfall, Own Your Revenue. I traveled the world, did about, I don't know, over a decade's worth of work over in 15 different countries throughout my career. And with that work, that's where I started my business, the Own Your Revenue business, where it's literally focusing on that aspect of controlling or owning the revenue within SMBs, as you've already mentioned.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Ryan. Keep up the good work. So today, let's talk about becoming a pattern hunter or own your revenue. Let's define the core concept. In a business context, what exactly is a revenue pattern and how is identifying the fundamentally different from just noticing the random spike in sales or positive customer review?
I think that's a great point, Daniel. As SMB owners, leaders, it's often very difficult to see beyond just the daily happenings. Like you said, hey, we had a spike in revenue, it went up, hey, it went down. What are the reasons for this? A lot of that is kind of reactionary. But oftentimes, as mentioned, I was sent around the world or hired to do audits and evaluations on companies, on their facilities, on their operations, their maintenance, whatever the case be, on their internal trainings, how they govern themselves. And as I was doing this, I kept seeing the same patterns over and over and over again, regardless of company, regardless of their mottos, their phrases, even the culture or the area that they were in, what language they spoke, how skilled or expertise their people were, educated. And through that aspect, that's where it started becoming real clear to me. There's certain patterns that, as we look for patterns, it helps shrink that scale, that time frame to actually realize a positive result in our businesses. So really becoming a true tactical pattern hunter uh, really requires being able to one, know what patterns you are looking for and how to identify those so that they can be addressed.
Interesting, Mr. Ryan. So, why is the active mindset of a pattern hunter more powerful for a business growth than a passive mindset of a data collector or a best practices follower?
Being an active pursuer or hunter of a revenue pattern is definitely forethinking. You're thinking ahead of time, you're planning ahead of time, you're looking for the actions, the behaviors that are going to drive certain results. Being passive is maybe nice for how you play with your dog at home or maybe how you play with your cat, things like that. Like that, that's okay to be passive with those individuals. But in business, it's going to lead to, well, as we know, 96% of SMBs, small businesses, fail before before they hit their 5-year mark. So unless an individual wants to not be one of those 96 and to be one of the 4% that actually make it, then it's very, very critical to be able to look back and quickly analyze and see, have that active forethought and that process for being able to determine what patterns are actually allowing you to own or control your revenue. And this isn't just gross revenue. I mean, you could be talking about your time, you could be talking about your resource, your assets, your thoughts, owning your thoughts. These are all critical components that lead every single one of them to the summation and the result of owning your revenue.
So, Mr. Ryan, many entrepreneurs are stuck in a reactive cycle, putting out first or putting out fires and chasing the next tactic. What is the first practical step to shift from being reactive to becoming a proactive pattern hunter in your own business?
First step to becoming an active or a proactive pattern hunter is, I know this may sound a little cliche, but it's understanding why you're actually in business. And
Mm,
there's one question that I usually ask and right up in the beginning, in my conversations with my clients is, what problem do you solve that nobody else does? And most of the time, I am met with a barrage of answers. Hey, we do this and we do this and we do this and we do this and we do this. Well, that's nice. You do those things. That's part of your function. You make a delivery, you create a product, you whatever it is. But what problem are you solving that no one else is? And as we dive into that and as we get clarity around that simple answer, it's kind of like, uh, I like to think of it as if, have you ever seen a movie trailer, right? When
mhm,
the $1 million voice of Morgan Freeman comes on and they're announcing what the movie is. And all of
mhm.
a sudden it just grabs your attention, right? So
Yes.
boom, that they've got you locked in. Very, very similarly, when someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, Daniel, what do you do?" Right? That is code for, what problem do you solve that nobody else does? Go, I'm listening. And you've
Mhm.
got 7 seconds to be able to answer that question. Hey, what do you do? Well, if you can articulate what problem you solve, if that person's got that problem, then boom, you've got the ability to engage in additional conversations so that you can work toward actually solving that problem with them. But that would be the first step, as per your question, the first step toward becoming a revenue pattern, excuse me, uh, a revenue pattern hunter would be to understand the problem that you're solving and get so very clear. Clarity is power. Once you gain that power and you are so very clear on what it is you're doing, it makes life so much easier to be able to provide your services and goods to the people that you're trying to reach out to.
Very well said, Mr. Ryan. Very well said indeed. So, let's talk about the discovery, finding your hidden patterns. Why should a business owner start looking at for these golden patterns beyond just sales data? What are the most overlooked habitats for valuable patterns?
One of the things that I love about this aspect is, one, if you're hunting for patterns, you have to have a way to broadcast what those patterns are, to identify where and how. And if anybody's ever seen a professional game nowadays, they've got statistics. Let's just take the NBA for example. And you can do it with football, you can do it with soccer, you can do it with so many different sports. But they'll take a shooter and they'll highlight in dots all around the key where they've taken shots and where they've made shots and where they've missed shots. And you'll see patterns of areas where that shooter, that basketball shooter, where he's really on fire, he makes a lot of shots from this point in the court. But if he moves to a different section, maybe he's not as good. His efficiency goes down. So very, very similarly in business, we've got to be able to define what the parameters of our shots are. What are the shots we're taking? Where are we hitting? Where are we successful at? Where are we not successful at? And in my process, the own your revenue process, as you've got pulled up, like that aspect, I've got 7 different areas that we define and categorize all the different possible patterns or where patterns may exist. So you first got to start there. I call it PEPSLIM, PEPSLIM, and it stands for people, equipment, process, strategy, leadership, inventory, and money. And every business I've ever worked in, whether it's a solopreneur that's working in the financial industry, or it's a big manufacturing facility that's got 150 people and they're repping out stuff, whatever it is, your business is going to fit categorically into these 7 different areas. And as you analyze, as you start seeing your business in structure, in form, then it's a lot easier to see where those patterns are residing in what areas where, and that would be my answer to your question. In allowing us to be able to see those patterns or find those patterns, we first have to kind of categorically uh, place our company into these areas that are more manageable for us to digest.
Mr. Ryan, what are the most, or what are the common false patterns or red herrings that entrepreneurs often mistake for meaningful signals, and how can you test to confirm a pattern is real?
That's a great question. The bulk of patterns, last year, I launched, actually here just recently, at the end of last year, I launched an actual specific online app for this. So I call it my Own Your Revenue dashboard. And that dashboard is literally just like a dashboard in a car. It's going to have all these signals and everything for you. As more and stuff that it gets populated into it, it's going to start showing you those things. To your point about which ones, I am finding that most of my clients, or at least all the ones that I've worked with, there's a certain percentage of those patterns that tend to show more either issues or opportunities available to SMBs. And the top 3 out of those 7 are in strategy, they're in process, and they're in leadership. That's usually where most of the patterns of issue lie for SMBs, are strategy, process, and leadership. And once you can see those, and once you start honing in and identifying specifically what those patterns are, we even go to the granular effect of being able to outline what the either the detriment effect, what negative aspect. So it's kind of like a, big boat that has leaks, right? If you're going to go around, you're going to find these little leaks. Hey, we're seeping water, or we're gushing water. There's going to be different kinds of leaks that are getting in the boat. And sometimes it might just be humidity. It might just be condensation that's going through because it's a weak part in the boat. So different levels, different areas will prove to see different levels of intensity and how much leakage is getting into the boat. And so part of what this process is designed to do is to identify what those are and the magnitude of those leaks within a business.
Application from the insight to revenue, Mr. Ryan. Once a promising patterns is identified, what is the framework for pressure testing it before betting the business on it? Is it a small experiment, a customer interview series, or something else?
I Pressure testing. I love pressure testing. In this case, once you've identified what that pattern is, what area it pertains to, there's only going to be so many people within the business that have accountability for that piece, right? So if I own a manufacturing business and I've found that the process is one of my issues or one of my opportunities, right? The office administrator that handles accounts payable, that person is not going to be the individual that's going to help improve the process on the floor, right? We're going to be speaking specifically to that individual that is in charge of that process. One of the things that many businesses struggle with is building a culture of revenue. I had a business I was working with once, and the business owner was getting ready to retire. And as he was retiring, he was entertaining the sell to merge and acquisition to different people. Eventually, he settled on an ESOP, employee stock own business. And he says, once I did that and I transferred ownership of the company to the employees, he says something snapped, something changed. And all of these employees, he was in a manufacturing type facility. He said, all of those bolts and all of those shavings and this kind of stuff that would just naturally be wasted prior to that, he said they started taking account for every single thing. They started putting every little piece back in their bins, and they started doing the little things with the scrap because they realized, hey, our bonus at the end of the year, that that determines, hey, if I pick up a bolt each day, each time, as opposed to discard it, that's going to be money that's back in my pocket at the end of the day. So he recognized, he started seeing a culture revenue. Now, not everybody's going to turn their company over to an ESOP, but the challenge for us as owners and leaders is, how do we still build that culture? How do we build a revenue mindset culture amongst a standard rate employee in the company? Of course, we need to do it with our leadership team, but how do we do that within our standard employees even? And so part of this process is, once you've identified the patterns, once you've found the patterns, to your point, to your question, is how do we then get those people on board? It's easy to get the owner on board to a new idea to change this, but in reality, it's always going to come down to the accountability of the person that is executing the tasks associated with the pattern that you found. So until you have a method or a process wherein you are taking every single one of those individuals and allowing them the accountability to come in and change for better, to increase, nothing's ever going to be perfect, but we can be better than where we're currently at. So part of the Own Your Revenue process is exactly that. We're taking accountability of these individuals. We're literally taking them into an elevated role where we are allowing them the accountable position of influencing said pattern, pattern one, pattern two, pattern three. We are putting them in a responsible position, saying, look, we have identified pattern number 27. Pattern number 27 is this, and we want you to focus on this for, let's just say, the next 3 weeks. We want you to come around and design, build an SOP, a standard operating procedure, on how you fix this problem number 27, issue pattern number 27. And you're going to use the individual that's going to be using it. Guess what? It's going to be their solution, because they live on it, they walk through it. They're going to go through and find a solution for it. It's going to be some percentage better than where you currently are. How big? Who knows? But it will be better than where your business currently is. And 3 weeks later, you're going to have a culture, a higher revenue culture mindset amongst those individual employees that are going to ultimately result in positive net results to the culture and the ownership of your revenue as a business.
So, Mr. Ryan, let's talk about the philosophy and sustainability. At its heart, is a pattern hunting really about developing a deeper or more attentive relationship with your customers and your own business model? How does this focus prevent from chasing these shiny objects?
How does it prevent us from chasing the shiny objects?
Yes.
That is uh, the shiny object, the squirrel syndrome. We've heard it called a number of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when a good process will guide our mindsets, our focus. We already know this. We know that we can only think about one thing at a time. Um, and the more you're fluctuating between different things, and if you're flopping and flipping between thing one and thing two and thing 501 and 502, you're being very, very inefficient. In this case, being able to one, identify the patterns where they are, that allows you to be able to focus on that one thing, to be able to be disciplined instead of being distracted. And I have a phrase I always say, if it's if it's not written down, it's a liability. If it is written down, it's an asset. So our jobs as owners and leaders are to create as many assets as possible within our business. We've got to allow, instead of creating liabilities all over the place, we want to allow our people to have assets. We want them to be able to document, to be able to control how they're going to react to certain situations, certain opportunities. And as we do that, as we focus on that, then it keeps us from chasing the shiny objects, because there's always going to be someone's going to come up to work. Hey, I saw this on an ad. Hey, I saw this. Hey, I heard about this. They're always going to come up with that. But that to me, that's just distraction. It's noise. Is there validity in what that program or that process or something that they had? Yes, absolutely. Okay, great. Then have a disciplined time where you sit down and you actually investigate methods or processes that address it. But across the board, for the most part, those shiny object syndromes are catastrophic to us being able to just own our own thoughts, being able to control our discipline in the things that we're working toward, the results that we're wanting. And so yeah, being able to see that, again, going back to that's one of the reasons that I created the dashboard, the Own Your Revenue dashboard, is to be able to stay on track for that accountability piece, and all of the members within your business to be able to be accountable to each other towards growth.
Towards growth. We love that, Mr. Ryan. Growth, growth indeed. So for the skeptical business owners who says, I'm too busy running my business to study it. So what is your most compelling counter argument on how pattern hunting saves time and creates leverage?
Too busy. Oh, one of the exercises I do with my owners, I think the least amount of hours that I have found a business owner to be working is probably around 67 hours a week. That's the least amount of average. And this goes without saying, but what is that costing you? Like, are you really earning money, or are you just a slave to something else? Are you enjoying your life? Are you pulling this through? I know some of that's a little bit emotional, but it's really a truth aspect to be looking at. If the mindset is I'm just too busy, well, then all the more reason. If you're trying to run a marathon and you get a rock in your shoe and you say, I'm too busy trying to beat my time or trying to reach the finish line in a certain time, well, how many miles are you going to run with that rock in your shoe? Or when the second rock gets in there, the third rock gets in there? And what kind of damage are you going to do to your feet? Are you actually going to be able to reach your time? We know the answers, but we've got to be able to stop, be disciplined, right? Not
Mhm.
distracted. Be disciplined enough to say, hey, I am going to take an hour out, 2 hours a week, and I am going to be disciplined on improving the management of my time so that I own my time, so that I own the revenue associated with that time. And instead of working for the $25 an hour task that I'm doing, I'm actually now going to be working for my ownership tasks, which are much more valuable. That might be $500 an hour, might be $1,000 an hour, whatever it is that your leadership task is worth. That's what you want to be trying to work for. So being able to be disciplined, and to me, that's a simple excuse that is used. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. Well, eventually you're not going to be able to finish that marathon race. Or if you do, it's going to be at a subpar level than you ever wanted to. And you're going to have so much damage to your feet that you may not be able to run the next race. So being able to sit back, understand that you're the visionary as the owner, as the leader, you're the visionary. So you have to make time. You've got to be disciplined in owning your time to be able to take care of those things.
Very well said, Mr. Ryan. But before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in a sixth season, abstract poetry in third season, and of course, my book 101 review in sixth season as well. Comedy 101 in its third season, food 101 in sixth season 2, geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 of fifth season, science 101, sex 101 fourth season, trivia 101, law 101, mental health 101, innovation 101, or motivation 101, entrepreneurship 101, and Bible verses 101 are my baby podcast. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Ryan, finally, if you could leave our listeners with one small actionable habit they can start this week to become a better pattern hunter in their business, what would it be?
One simple one is control your thoughts. Be disciplined in your thoughts, and don't allow the noise to oversound your real true thoughts.
Oversound. Yes, don't care of what people say about you, people. Go. Follow your dreams and share to the world just like Mr. Rion Westfall. So can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now, Mr. Ryan?
Yes, right now the greatest stop on my website, 537BD for businessdevelopment.com. You can go there, and you can also get your access to the dashboard as well as other newsletter and information pieces that are there, and calendar time to discuss are all on the website.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Rion Westfall, because if you support him, for sure more and more empowering revenue will rise. So, Mr. Ryan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Welcome, people. See you soon.